Welcome to Milking the Franchise, the Cash Cow Chronicles, where me and Chris watch
movies.
Welcome
What was
to
that?
the show. I
What
don't
was
know. It's trying to change it up, and I don't know what else to do.
No, I'm into it. I
There's
just
only-
I thought
There's only
I thought
so
maybe
many
that was your
moves.
Jake Busey.
I am getting good at my Busey impression, my Jake Busey impression.
Right. Not Gary, his son Jake. Which will be prominently featured in today's episode.
That's part of the movie.
Yep.
Chris, how are you today?
Oh man, Tanner, I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a nice week so far. I think big news for me. I just bought my plane ticket to come home for the summer. So looking forward to seeing some family and hoping to see you a little bit too.
Yeah, make your way out here for sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. How's your week going?
And then we can watch Roadhouse 3 when you come
Ooh. Don't tell me it's a good time.
My week is fine, I made a huge batch of curry to get me through the week. Penang curry. I've been cooking a lot of curry soups and stuff like that. It's delicious.
Sounds amazing. Put some veggies in there?
Oh, it's pretty much, actually this batch was all veggies. I usually put chicken in there, but somebody at my work wanted to try it that doesn't eat meat, so I just made a veggie batch.
Do you ever put just like a bunch of hot Cheetos in there to spice it up?
That's actually not a bad idea.
Sounds like a bad idea.
No veggies, just Cheetos. Bags.
That's that crunch, you know what I mean?
Honestly, a bag of hot Cheetos, like, in the sauce might actually be pretty good. I don't know why that sounds good, but Chris, I'm going to make it.
I think after you watch the movie Roadhouse 2, everything sounds good. That's my theory.
Yeah,
but,
just give me anything at all, please. I am pretty hungry.
Try and report back to me, Tanner. Let me know if it's actually good.
I am pretty hungry. That could be part of it too.
There it is.
Oh God. Yeah, any food will do. Well, this is the podcast where me and Chris, my name is Tanner. We watch every movie in a franchise and we talk about it, we break it down, and we watch as much milk as we call it, which is like the IP and surrounding parts of the franchise. And right now we're doing Roadhouse, which doesn't really have a whole lot of milk, but I think this movie qualifies as milk that we watched today.
Qualifies as something.
It's called Roadhouse 2: Last Call, direct to video DVD. Chris, I was thinking for milk, maybe next week I'll go to.
Tanner, I think this movie is also available direct to flip phone download.
Yeah, it's only available on Motorola's.
It's a BlackBerry exclusive.
But I was thinking for milk this week, I would go to my local Roadhouse bar.
Oh, that sounds great. I think you should.
Get stabbed, maybe.
Break a bottle. You have to break a bottle, or
rip a throat or two.
Yeah, you never know.
Chris, what do we do at the top of the show here?
Oh, yeah. So like Tanner kind of explained what this show's about, one of the things that we like to do with these movies is each week we'll put out a little survey with some little questions that kind of go along with the plot. Anything we thought was funny, we try to make some jokes about that. And we would love it if you guys would join along. So take a peek at the show notes for each episode. There'll be like a quick little Google survey that's got some questions and some little riffs for you guys to kind of help out with. If you answer our little survey, we'll read your responses on the show the following week. So today we're watching, most of the episode today is going to be about Roadhouse 2. And I know there's a lot of Roadhouse 2 stands out there. So you can skip forward to get to the Roadhouse 2 content. because the survey that we're going over this week is from last week's movie, the 1989 classic, Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse.
Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. Absolutely.
or just Roadhouse. I don't know why I felt the need to shout out Patrick
I wish it
Swayze
was
there.
Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. That'd be that his name on there. Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse too.
Maybe they should do that with movies, just like Tom Cruise's Top Gun.
Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible 7.
Dan Aykroyd's Ghostbusters.
All right, yeah. So we got a survey here, some responses. Thank you for answering, the people who did. Favorite line of the movie was, "I used to fuck guys like you in prison." Of course.
Oh my! The movie.
That's line.
That line's so jarring. Yeah. One of a kind.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Favorite moment in Roadhouse. We got a 3-way tie between just the throat rip, classic throat rip moment. Buying tons of spare tires in anticipation of tire slashing, and then pole vaulting over a fat guy.
Oh, good. I'm glad that got a vote.
Good stuff.
So many moments in that movie. Just a classic. Yeah.
Too many. Yeah, we had to pare it down to 8 options. Besides the Double Deuce, which is the name of the bar, come up with a name for a Roadhouse dive bar. The New Saturday Night Thang.
Ooh.
Nice reference.
I'd go break a bottle there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The Titty Kiss. The Dark and Stormy. And the Mumblin' Rumbler. Ooh, I like that. And then we got Triple Deuce and Mijos.
That's what it should be the Triple Deuce in this movie.
I mean, Chris, that's basically where I work, at the Triple
Better
Deuce.
than... Oh, yeah, you're right. It is pretty close.
Mijos Bar and Grill.
Oh, good.
And then we asked, what other situations can you get out of with the "I ain't seen nothing" defense? Going to a glory hole. Thank you, Willow, for that. Thesis defense. Tell me what this means.
When you get your master's degree, I think, or maybe your PhD, you have to write a big paper and then present it, and that's defending your thesis.
Oh, you have to defend it. Oh, I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you could get out of that with "I ain't seen nothing," and then get your PhD. Yeah.
I got out of that by having a general studies degree, and just they're like, all right, just give us some more money and we'll get you out of here.
Yep.
Then we got thesis defense, renewing your vows.
I ain't seen nothing.
Telling your son you were proud of him.
Oh my.
And then we got didn't do homework.
Good.
Better than a dog ate it.
It's at least
And
original.
Murder, of course.
Murder. Yes.
And then the last question here. Dalton explains that the 3 rules of cooling are never underestimate your opponent, take it outside, and be nice. Add a few more. No new taxes. Flash your breasts. That's
a rule.
That's a rule.
Okay.
We got some random ones here. Number 7. Get your knuckles surgically sharpened.
For punches.
Oh, I thought it was for throat rips.
Or for throat rips. Either one. Yeah. Sharp knuckles will help all the time when you're cooling.
Definitely cooling. Number 14. Don't shit where you fuck. All right. Is that a reference? Did that happen? Is there something in the movie that brought that, or is that just a rule?
I don't think so. That was just words to live by. It sounded funny when I said it in my head, so I wrote it down.
It's a good thing to remember. I'm gonna get a T-shirt. This is that. Number 22. Shirts are for peckerheads. We got number 4. fuck guys like me in prison.
That's a rule.
That's a rule.
Good.
And then become a throat goat.
Oh, good. Yes. Throat rip goat. I like that a lot.
Goat, yeah.
Mhm. The rip is implied.
Absolutely. It's in parentheses. And then rate Roadhouse. I got 100%, a 5 out of 5.
There was no other option.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so good. Chris, I have a little surprise for you too, because we watched this movie 3 years ago for our bad movie night. Talked about it a little bit last week. And I have a survey from that one already with responses ready to go. Let's see if there's anything good in here. I actually looked it over, and ours is the one we made is much better. Let's see. Favorite character was Tillman, which I can't even remember. Is he the owner of the bar?
Owner. Yeah, he had like nothing to do in that movie.
2 people voted for him. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
And then Wade Garrett and Dalton got some votes. Best line in any movie ever. I only gave one option, and it was, I used to fuck guys like you in prison, of course.
Well, I mean, obviously that line stands up. It won the best line in the movie 4 years apart then.
Yeah, every time. You know? I mean, it's got to win every time.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Favorite scene, we got the throat rip / motorcycle tackle.
Great.
Idiot who thought the taxidermy was coming to life and got crushed by a polar bear. And then monster truck through the showroom. So a lot of the same stuff here.
Great.
What is Dalton's catchphrase before he rips the throat?
I just read the first one.
May you rip in peace. I used to throat fuck guys like you in college.
Jesus.
You rip what you sow. Okay, that's pretty good.
I like that.
Here's some good ones here. Looks like you stuck your neck out for the wrong guy.
Oh,
that's good. That's all she throat. Murder he throat.
These are ridiculous. Yeah.
Murder he throat. And wait, names Strep, Dalton Strep, Destroyer of Throats.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
And I just kind of asked why. I don't know what I was thinking there. But yeah, that's some fun, little blast from the past.
Yeah.
The throat ripping catchphrase is a good question. That's a great.
That is a good question. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we'll get some throat rips in the next movie and we can bring that back because that would be fun to get some other people jumping in on that one.
Yeah, Roadhouse 2's lack of throat rip was very disturbing.
Very disappointing, and they went so far out of their way to include so many other things from the first movie. It's really weird to me that they didn't include a throat rip.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty violent thing, but I mean, this is an R-rated movie, I assume. Maybe it's unrated even, because nobody bothered to even send it to the Motion Picture Association.
Yeah, the Motion Picture Association didn't even know that this got made.
Yeah, I think those movies often don't have ratings, technically. But yeah, I mean, it's R-rated. I mean, there's nudity and violence, so I don't know why they wouldn't add a throat rip. It's not like they tried to like make it PG-13 or something, you know?
Right.
It's still a violent movie. Yeah, speaking of that, let's talk about it. Roadhouse 2, Last Call. It's not really titled Last Call anywhere that I can see, but I know it is. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't say it in the movie, doesn't say it on the cover art.
Yeah, it's just Roadhouse 2 and the intro.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why they added that. Maybe it's Ghostbusters Answer the Call thing.
Definitely. Answer the last call. Yeah.
Answer the last call.
All right. How do we get into this movie? Yeah. Movie's great.
Well,
it's directed by Scott Zeal. And I have no budget or like box office info on this. So obviously
So this movie may or may not exist. Good luck finding it to watch it yourself. If you're listening to this right now,
Yeah, it's very tough to find.
yeah,
Um, but it came out in 2006 on DVD. So, Chris, where do you want to start?
man, I feel like we got to talk about the intro a little bit for this movie. Would you
Mm-hmm.
agree? We get some rockin' jams played over the top of just kind of like some scene setting with Jake Busey, who plays a major part in this role. You see someone smoking a crack pipe just right out the gate, and then just says Roadhouse 2 over that stuff, which kind of pissed me off because of what came right after that. Then they cut to New York, so very similar to the first Roadhouse movie. Super sexy car pulls up outside of a club, and in the first movie, a hot girl in a hot dress got out of the car, and in this one, two hot girls get out of the car, and it watches them walk up to the bar. It needed to put Roadhouse 2 over their butts. Like, why didn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
It was like right there, and I don't know why.
So
they
many
didn't.
missed opportunities.
That was the only one that really made me mad. I was just like, come on, guys. Like, it's right there for you.
These are the girls, I think, on the cover of the DVD, right?
Yeah, and I don't think they're in the movie at any
They're
point.
not at all. It's just that.
Yeah.
I read that they're literally not in the movie, but they're prominently featured on the DVD cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they look like they're AI generated, honestly.
A little bit.
Or
Yeah.
photoshopped or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, that's about it.
So you get the idea. There's some drug. It's going to be a drug movie, right? They showed the meth or the crack or whatever.
Big time.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter which one it is. It's just like crystally drugs.
Yes, exactly.
Rock shaped drugs. Yeah, whether
it's
that's
more than cocaine, more than weed.
Mm-hmm.
We know that.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
One thing I did notice. Well, I had this at the top. There's a fight. God, I can't even remember. Does it start at the Roadhouse bar or does it start?
I think it starts. Yeah, I think you're right. I guess those girls are in Louisiana at the Black Pelican, which is the new bar.
Yeah.
There's a
terrible
bar fight.
name.
Yeah, I know Pelicans are like local there and they're a big deal in Louisiana. But yeah, the last one was Double Deuce.
I mean,
way better name than
it's
Black
fine.
Pelican.
It's fine for like an actual restaurant, but for a movie like this,
yeah,
like generic bar name. But one thing I noticed is a fight breaks out at this Roadhouse bar, and I think it's the only time that there's actually like a Roadhouse bar moment in this entire movie. Right? I mean, it's the only time that there's an actual bar fight happening.
No, because the same dude gets his ass kicked a little later.
Maybe there's a few more. But the band stops playing in this movie when there's a fight. That's the biggest change that I noticed.
Is it because the lead guitarist isn't blind in this movie?
Oh, that's why. Maybe that's why he never stopped playing in the last one. We never figured that one out.
He just let it run. Yeah.
Yeah, in the first movie we talked about last week, the band just always plays throughout. People like getting punched and kicked and all these like knife fights happening.
Yeah, and it's kind of awesome. And the lead guitarist in the first movie is Jeff Healey, who's actually blind. And this band, I mean, did you look up who this guy was?
Yeah, James Otto.
James Otto. He gets a scene. He gets a couple lines in this movie, but it's not quite the same as the energy that Jeff Healey brought to the last one.
Did you do any listening to James Otto this week, Chris?
I did. I listened to a couple of his songs. He has a nice voice, but it's like very kind of right up the middle country music. I listened to a song about how Jesus and soldiers were the people who had died for me and my freedom. And
very cool.
That told me what I needed to know. But I did notice on his Wikipedia he was born in Washington State, our home state.
Oh, really?
So yeah, James Otto.
Interesting. I saw he had a little bit of success in the mid 2000s. Right when this movie came out, it seemed like he was available for this movie. So,
from his Wikipedia, it sounded like he almost made it a couple times. He opened for Shania Twain on a big tour, and he's like friends with Rascal Flatts and Big and Rich.
Big and Rich, yeah.
It's that Ride a Horse band. But he never broke through mainstream quite the way those folks all did.
The one tidbit I have, this is like the only thing I have for this entire movie, is that he made he made like a Atlanta Braves theme song or something called "The Braves Play Here."
Did he now?
Yeah, I watched the video. It's just like a minute long of. It's like kind of that Sunday Night Football song where you have like Harry Underwood singing about football. It's like something like that, about the Atlanta Braves in the 2000s. So it's like John Smoltz throwing heat and whoever, Greg Maddux, whatever it is.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. So that's his probably biggest moment. And then besides this movie, of course.
I mean, obviously. I mean, Roadhouse 2, Last Call.
Oh,
it
and
doesn't get bigger than that.
The tomahawk chop is prominently featured in the song.
Okay.
Well. That's great.
Oh my. I feel like we have given this man too much time on this show because he barely plays a part in this movie.
I think it's because I just wanted to talk about it because we talked so much about Jeff Healey, and this is his like direct-to-video
counterpart. Yes. Yeah. Yes. They replaced Jeff Healey, like this blues rock, pretty famous blues rock guy with this dude.
Much like Jake Busey being Gary Busey's direct-to-video sequel.
Exactly right. Yes. This is the Jeff Healey direct-to-video sequel. James Otto, was that his name?
Something like that.
Okay.
It's already forgot. Yes, James Otto.
James Otto.
All right. Yeah, we'll leave him alone.
Do you think he calls his songs auto tunes?
Hey.
Anyway,
so.
Back to the Black Pelican. So bar kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it starts with a bar fight. There's a guy. Is he selling drugs that gets kicked out?
Yeah, there's definitely drug running happening.
Okay. Yeah. Gets thrown down the stairs, and then during close that night, one of the manager of this bar gets a phone call on a flip phone. Flip phones are prominently displayed in this movie. That was why I was joking about them earlier. But he gets a call on a flip phone summoning him to some nighttime meetup.
And there's definitely on the screen like no phone call happening. It's just like the background of the phone.
Mm-hmm. Yes. He just opened
this movie
it. The light is shining on his face. I didn't notice that. That's amazing. Yeah. That's all I've got from that first scene.
So something's happened. Some of your employees are not loyal. They're corrupt or something. He gets a little warning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we head back, like you said, to New York City, where Shane Tanner is our main guy here, and he's a DEA agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like a setup scene happening right here with a stripper, right?
Yeah, they're at a titty bar, and they do the most obvious drug deal I've ever seen on TV. Like a parcel of money for a parcel of drugs, and they exchange them under the table in a restaurant, like in a bar.
Yeah. It's a titty bar, though. I mean, come on.
It is.
There's all sorts of fun happening under the table.
Hey, you're not wrong there.
Hey.
And then a couple of the dancers pulled guns at this point, and they announced their DEA, and they stopped the drug bust. But one of them that pulls the gun is one of the dancers. Where did she get that gun from, Tanner?
You don't want to know.
Okay. Question rescinded.
Yeah, she's like half naked, pulls out a gun. She's the DEA agent, and this guy who's doing the drug deal is put in cuffs, and you find out that that's actually the Shane Tanner character, and he was undercover setting up this other person. Pretty boring scene. But she takes him into the back room and like tries to fuck him.
She sure does.
He's too busy. He's got to work, babe. Sorry.
Yeah, he's got drug busts to bust.
Also, aren't they coworkers?
They're for sure coworkers. Yes.
Yeah. But she's just like, I like this stripping profession. It turns me on or something.
So I'm going to do it to my coworker. Yeah. I also thought in that scene it was really funny because like he gets this sexy dance, and he's like, no, 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 and he walks out of the room. But as he does, he takes off his jacket, and he was like an undercover. He was like set up this undercover sting, but under his sport coat, he was still wearing a shirt that said DEA across the back in giant white letters.
Yeah, all he did was wear a jacket over his DEA shirt.
Dumbest fucking thing. I don't know. It made me
But
laugh.
that was supposed to be a reveal for us. Like, oh, he's working for the DEA.
Now I get it. His true colors. Yeah.
Oh
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're back in Louisiana. The manager from the Black Pelican that we met a little bit before shows up at this kind of shadowy dock that he had been summoned to, and like, I don't know, 6 dudes show up out of the shadows, and there's a big fight scene by the water.
Jake Busey is there, and he threatens him to sell the bar to him.
Yes.
Because this is it's like a prime real estate location for running drugs.
Location, Tanner.
Yeah.
They say that was 3 times in the movie. Yeah.
This movie's really hard. Anytime there's music playing on the audio, it's like hard to understand what they're saying. Because like whoever edited this just like did not balance any of the audio correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody gave a shit, I'm sure. I liked how that fight scene on the docks, I thought it ended, he like jumps in the water and like swims away.
Yeah.
I thought it just ended right there because he kind of unloads his gun and they're like, oh fuck, he got away, but it turns out he did like get shot or something after he jumped in the water, right?
Yeah, he ends up at the hospital from this scene, the manager. I also want to shout out, this is the first time we see one of Jake Busey's henchmen, who's a girl, and her only thing seems to be she likes knives.
And she's got one of those.
She's got throwing knives. She's got butterfly knives. Any knife.
Yeah.
She's the knife chick.
She's the knife chick.
Knife chick shows up too. Yeah.
That's a cool thing to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens, and he's in the hospital, and this is when Shane gets the phone call that his uncle is in the hospital. So this guy that owns the bar is named Nate Tanner, and he is now in the hospital from being attacked by these guys, and Shane's going to go down there and check it out.
Question for you. Do you feel more connected to these characters because their last name is Tanner?
Yeah, I definitely do. It made me, it turned this movie from a 4 to a 5 out of 5 stars for me.
Oh, so, that's what put it over the top, huh? The name recognition.
I was going to ask you, Chris, I feel like, these guys are named Tanner. There's some other Tanner last names in shows like Full House.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. I feel like there's not a whole lot of Chris characters in movies. Like it's like one of the most common names. And I feel like characters are never named that. Does that seem accurate? Or am
I mean, there's Christopher Robin.
Sure. It's Christopher. If there's a Chris, it's always Christopher. You never just have like the main character of my movie is named Chris. I don't know why, but I feel like they stay away from it because it's such a popular.
It's just so generic. Yeah, no, I totally agree. But it's kind of how people treat me. They stay away because they're like, this dude must be hella generic.
This guy's just another Chris.
Just another one. Add him to the pile.
Now, Christopher, we can talk. Or Topher, we can talk.
I prefer just Toph, please.
Toph.
Drop the er. Yeah.
All right, Toph. Well, where do we go from here?
Oh, God, I regret saying that. Anyway, so Tanner, his uncle is the manager. And he also reveals in this scene that his dad is dead, which will come back later, but I'll save that reveal. But at the end of that conversation, someone tells him that his uncle's in the hospital, and he just goes, did you ask him, he asked this woman, did you ask him if he had anything to do with my dead father? And she was like, you think he had something to do with it? And he goes, no, but I always ask. That's really bad police work, I think.
What?
Right?
Yeah. I didn't even understand. He asked the lady who called him from the hospital that?
I think the phone call went to another DEA agent who relayed him the news. And he asked this other DEA agent if she had asked if it had anything to do with his dad's murder. And she was like, no, should it have? And he's like, no, but I always ask. Which really seems like he should go to therapy or, like deal with this in another way.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to let go the search and just, let his dad go. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Rest in peace. Let him rest in peace.
Let
him rip in peace.
Let him throat rip in peace.
So he goes back to he goes back to his hometown, and he's on the way to the hospital, and he drives by some hot chick changing her tire, and he stops by just to offer help because he's just such a nice guy. And she was doing fine without it. Like, she didn't need his help at all. But he shows up and he puts the rest of the tire on and then leaves.
A true gentleman, a good Samaritan.
Supposed to be them, their chemistry igniting in this moment. Yeah. Anything else about that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as he's finishing up the tire, who comes blasting by with the loudest royalty-free hip-hop music blaring out of his stereo speakers?
Is it Jake Busey?
It's Jake Busey. It's our first introduction, or not even our first. It's like our third introduction to this dude at this point. But the music in the car just made me chuckle and yearn for Jeff Healey. And also Otis Redding was in the soundtrack of the last one.
I know.
And those talented musicians are nowhere to be seen here.
The music is bad. There's some like slow, tender moments, like the lovemaking scene, and like the music is, you know what I mean? It sounds like open mic in a small town. It might be this James guy, James whatever. I already forgot his name. Otto.
His voice was better than that slow song. I don't know who. Anyway, it
was probably just written by the editor or something. They just made it on the spot.
Maybe. Maybe
put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So Jake Busey, aka, I don't know if we find out this, his name is Wild Bill. So dumb.
Very dumb. Yes.
Find out he was the old cooler at this bar, right?
Yes. He had a job at this bar before he turned to the dark side and started dealing drugs full time. But there's also a little scene in here showing him and his goons showing up to the Black Pelican, and they just like hit somebody over the head with a bottle, and Knife Chick just licks a girl's face.
They're just intimidating
for
people.
No fucking reason. Yeah, just to intimidate people, I guess.
He drinks a mint julep.
Yeah, that's right. Such a weird character choice. Like, it should be like a light beer or like a whiskey on the rocks or something, but there's a huge like sprig of mint like poking up into his face. It's really it's a choice. It's a choice they made.
Chris, this girl that was getting her tire changed, did you notice she just had a bunch of shit in like the trunk of her Jeep? Like, it's just like a bunch of wood. I was going to ask you about that.
Do you think it's like the spare tires from the last one? Like, somebody's going to come around and she needs that extra wood for something?
A lot to repair a deck or something like that. Also, she's wearing... What's that?
I was thinking maybe that's her job, but no, she's a teacher. We find that out later.
Yeah. She's wearing like, this is such a 2000s look for girls. You know what I mean? Like those low-rise jeans. Is that what they're called? Where they're like super low, and you got the tramp stamp on the back. The tattoo on the lower back, we used to call it a tramp stamp. I don't know if that's not okay to say or something. But
right, that's not appropriate. Now it's a stamp tramp. Got to flip it around.
Well, I was going to ask Chris, if you were going to get a tramp stamp, what would you do it of?
Good question.
We'll save it for the survey.
Monster Energy drink logo. There you go.
Perfect. But I was also going to say that it's a huge tattoo on her lower back. So it's more of a tramp mural than a tramp stamp.
Yeah, there's extra postage on that stamp. And she's also wearing, the other thing that I thought was funny with all of her outfits, she's wearing like sleeveless shirts, but there's always like two shirts that are layered, so you can see the undercolor and the overcolor, which also was like, reminded me a lot of like high school, college years for us.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just a funny look how it's always like the pants are so low, these pants from that time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you think that look will ever come back? Because I can't imagine those pants are comfortable for women.
I don't think so. I don't know. Everything comes back around, but I can't imagine the tramp stamp coming back. What a name. But yeah, so many attractive girls had a tattoo right above their butt. And like wore clothes to show it off all the time. It was what a time to be alive.
Absolutely. Well, that also is just because you were going to the Black Pelican in Louisiana all the time. You were spending a lot of time down there.
Yeah, maybe it's just the things that I remember from the 2000s were these things.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he goes to the hospital where
Yep.
his uncle is, and there's a cop there that's like, looks like it's wrong place, wrong time. You know, just has like, didn't see nothing, answers for him kind of thing. He was just in the wrong place in the wrong time.
He didn't see nothing his way out of that conversation. You're totally right. Yeah.
I like that he's like, you probably did. He's like, the cop tells him you didn't really need to come back because there's nothing you can do anyway. Like, there's no reason for you to come visit your uncle in the hospital. Like, there's nothing you could do. Like, that's a reason. Like, if someone's in the hospital that you're related to, you go visit them. It's not like you're trying to like fix them yourself or like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
What a
just
stupid
being
thing.
there is why you're there.
Yeah, you're there because your uncle might die and he came to visit him.
Yeah. And they're clearly very close, right? They really play that up in this movie. So like,
Mm-hmm.
it's totally normal. Yeah.
Oh, and his uncle is he's like the one decent actor in this movie. Will Patton is his name.
What else is he in?
He's in a lot of stuff. He's in Armageddon. He's in like the newer Halloween trilogy that they made in the last like five years or so. There's 3 of them. He's in Yellowstone and a bunch of Kevin Costner Western kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then the show Swamp Thing that was like really good got canceled really quick. They tried to make a DC comic book like streaming service, and it lasted like 6 months. But it was a Swamp Thing show on that was really good.
Was he the Swamp Thing?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
he was just in the show.
He was fine in this. I thought I liked his performance was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably the best part of the movie. Anyway,
but
he's also
the
like
family
in the hospital
resemblance
for most of it.
between him and Shane Tanner. Oh my gosh, they could be brothers.
They look exactly the same.
They look nothing alike.
You get some little flashbacks here of him like training with his dad, like kickboxing and like training. What are those things called that he's punching? A punching bag.
Punching bag. Yep.
Yeah. What is that bag that he's punching called?
Do you want to know how you know you could beat both me and Tanner in a fight? We didn't know what a punching bag was called just now. Mm-hmm.
My face is a punching bag. Yeah, you get a bunch of like the same clip of this kid like practicing and his dad yelling at him. I was really hoping that we were gonna have like a scene where his dad teaches him how to rip a throat.
That would be amazing. That would have been so great.
Opportunity.
And
yeah.
Then he throat rips later in the movie. That would have been perfect. Because as we mentioned before, there's no throat rips in this movie. What is even the point of making Roadhouse 2 without a throat rip?
I have a feeling there's no throat rips in the new one too. I have a bad feeling that there's no throat rips.
Well, I'll be just as pissed when we watch that one if there's no throat rips.
Because I was like ready for the throat rip, and I was gonna ask questions like, you know, who taught you to throat rip? Did your dad teach you to throat rip and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. But it's irrelevant now. So.
Yeah. Oh, what could be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like Tanner was saying, we get some kickboxing flashbacks. At this time, Shane is kind of walking around his uncle's house. While he's in town, he's going to be staying there. And right after the flashbacks of kickboxing, he takes his shirt off and starts practicing kickboxing again. So then we get back. Then right after the flashback, there's like a montage of him kickboxing training.
In case you weren't sure that that
Yeah.
kid in that flashback was him, and now they're just making sure you know that this is the same. That was the same guy.
Yeah, they practically like Animorph grew him up. Like, but no. Yeah, so we get a bunch of kickboxing content, and then that night, because he's kind of in town to take care of his uncle and his uncle's stuff, and his uncle is the owner at the Black Pelican, so he goes down to the Black Pelican to kind of run things there too. And at that point, we finally get the big reveal. And what is the big reveal here, Tanner?
He is the son of Dalton, James Dalton from the first movie of Patrick Swayze.
Yep. His
and
last
has
name
a
is Tanner.
different last name, yeah.
But this is Patrick Swayze's son. Yes.
Supposedly that is his brother too, the guy in the hospital. That's Patrick Swayze's brother, right?
Correct.
With a different last name as well.
Yes.
You know many siblings with different last names?
I don't know any siblings with different last names.
I mean, I guess if your wife gets married or your sister gets married, she might change her name. My sister has a different last name, so I guess that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I just thought maybe he's on the other side of the family or something. You know what I mean?
That could be. Yeah. Like he married, one of them married a sister or something.
They changed their name to avoid whoever killed his father, like coming after him as well.
Yeah.
Like that. Anyway, it's not explained.
It's a funny tie-in that they didn't really need for this movie, to make him the son of Dalton from the last movie. But I did see on IMDb that this movie was originally written as like this character was supposed to be Patrick Swayze, and he just didn't do it, And so they had to kind of work around that.
Read the script. He's like, sure, I'll read the script, and then read the script and was immediately out. I doubt that he was like deep into production when
I think he's probably going back and forth, and he's like, but you got Jake Busey? I think that's a no for me, dog. Yeah.
Got Knife Girl.
Auto-tune.
Yeah. Auto, yeah. Got James Otto. Oh shit, I'm in. Looks like no. So they're in the bar here, and there's some more callbacks to the original movie, like quotes where he says opinions vary, which was a line we talked about last week. Yep. They also say, I thought you'd be bigger, which was a reference to it.
They dropped that a few times. Yep.
And you find out that the reason this bar is wanted by Jake Busey and all these drug lords is because it's close to the border and it's like close to Texas and all these things. It's just like a good location in the swamp.
It's right on the bayou too, so you can get out into the Gulf Coast there real easy. Yeah.
There's a quick little fight scene. How does this fight play out or start? I don't even remember.
Oh my gosh, dude. Marcus Reynolds. He wants everybody to know his name. Everybody. What's my name? Marcus. Say my name, Marcus Reynolds.
It's so funny because I didn't even notice he said any of that. He was that.
He said it like 4 times, and it's like
that's how little
not a character we need to care
about. How little
about.
any of this stood out to me. I didn't even hear him screaming his name over and over again.
He gets his shoes stepped on, and so he decides he's going to start a fight. He comes at Shane Tanner with a bottle, and Shane Tanner kicks the shit out of him. So this was the other Roadhouse fight that I was thinking of, Tanner. But you're right. There aren't a lot of fights like this in this movie. He gets thrown out of the bar, and Shane finds in his pocket just like a huge Ziploc bag full of drugs.
I noticed the thing I was noticing is that he's like taking these guys down one by one in the bar, and it's like the same angle. Mm-hmm. But every time he knocks a guy to the ground, it like cuts to the next guy that he fights, but he hasn't moved. And the people are missing from the floor. Like he's knocking people down, and like the way they film this, the bodies are like just disappearing.
Yeah.
Out of just really poorly made.
It is that's for sure.
Although it's not the worst for a direct-to-video, it could have been a lot worse. It's not like Highlander the Source, It's just very, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, the plot was pretty easy to follow throughout this. It had some fun moments. This is not the worst movie that we've watched.
No.
And it's like competently put together,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
we're
sort
going
of.
to talk
But
a lot
yeah.
of shit, but like it was a fine movie for what it was. It was fine.
Yeah, for a direct-to-video sequel like this, it's not the worst thing ever. That's where I'll stand
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
And then
This,
after this fight, I believe what's that?
oh, I was just going to say this scene ends with one of the bouncers trying to kick out Shane Dalton, who's the owner.
Shane Tanner.
Shane Tanner, excuse me. And it's just very clear that this one bouncer is working for the other guys. They kind of are setting this up pretty early.
Yeah, so they again, like the first movie, they have people working at the bar that are playing, that are on the other team or one of the bad guys' teams. Yeah. Yes. I was gonna say the girl shows up after this, right?
She sure does. Yes.
And she literally, I don't even know if he mentioned that he was going to this bar. Maybe he did.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. The quick interaction changing the tire was all it took. And she shows up at the bar, literally sits down at the bar and just says, "Hi, I told you I was going to stop by," or something like that. And then she gets up and leaves. That was it. She literally showed up, just sat down for 1 second and then left and says, "I don't drink. Just wanted to say thank you for changing my tire," and then she leaves. She drove all the way down there.
He asks her what her name is, and she doesn't tell him.
She flips him off.
Yes.
And kisses it.
But she left her phone at the bar, which is a pretty big mess up,
God,
it's not
I
a good thing to do.
Too. Because later on that comes into play, and I was like, how the hell is the cell phone here?
Because she left it at the bar. Yeah. And like Tanner said, she's literally at the bar for 10 seconds. It's just to say, I stopped by to say thank you. I'm on my way out. It's like that kind of interaction. Yeah.
Yes. It immediately leaves.
Yeah.
And then we get another bar meeting, just like the first movie, with the same 3 rules. They kind of just call another callback scene. And they're like, "Hey, why do you think you can run this bar?" He's like, "Well, my uncle did it and my dad did it, so I know how to run a bar." That's kind of his answers.
That's it. And like Tanner said, there's not really any
it runs in my blood
in this movie. We didn't need the rules for cooling. Like, there's not any cooling in this.
There's no cooling happening. Yeah. It's all about like a drug running. It's not about like just a wild bar.
Yeah, like it's not that far into the movie where we're gonna get to it here, but like Shane shuts down the bar because he's worried about the drug runners, and so the bar isn't even open for like most of the action in this movie. Yeah,
true. Dude,
anyway.
Yeah, they couldn't even get the Roadhouse part right in this movie. Like,
no, right?
The Roadhouse bar.
In the bar.
I mean, maybe
it's not
you want
on a road; it's on the bayou. Like, it's not a roadhouse; it's a bayou house. Anyway.
That would have been a good name.
Swamp
Roadhouse 2 Bayou House.
Bayou House.
Alternate title.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, we get the most incriminating. It's a scene with Wild Bill, and we also get to meet his boss, which I believe his name was Vincent Cross. Is that right? Victor
According
Cross.
to IMDb, which I would never have known, but yes.
Okay.
Like I didn't pick up on any character names in this.
Yeah, they really did not develop the Victor Cross character very well. But Wild Bill and Victor Cross, who's his boss, have a phone conversation with the most incriminating details of any drug dealers I've ever heard. They talk about needing to close this drug deal with Antoine DeMarco to legitimize their Louisiana drug operation. And so there's this big drug deal that's coming up, and Wild Bill needs to not screw this up.
Yeah, while this is happening, or before and after the phone call, he's just unhinged Busey, attacking and slapping all his crewmates, and like almost drowning
one in a hot tub. Yeah.
I also thought it was funny in his living room, just one feature, he just has like a slot machine in his living room. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that, but did you notice the model of Bigfoot the monster truck from the first movie?
Oh, not in the scene or later on, right?
It's later on. It's not in the scene, but he's got that in his place, which is...
I did see a tiny monster truck in one scene.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, the slot machine thing is like, you have a slot machine in your house, who's supplying the money, and like, are you just winning? Like, what's the point of that? You're not. You
Is
have
it
to put all the
fun
quarters
to play
in.
slots when you have to put the jackpot in the machine?
I'm gonna put hundreds of dollars worth of quarters in here and just sit and play, and then just put it right back in.
Yeah.
Or like you're letting people come over and just use your slot machine.
Well, that's why he's Wild Bill, Tanner. Would a non-Wild Bill have a slot machine in his living room?
If your name was just Bill, you wouldn't have that. But
Exactly.
Wild
Bill. That's a different story, baby. Okay. The main takeaway here, though, is that Wild Bill needs to purchase the Black Pelican, the bar that's owned by the Tanners, in time to do this drug deal that's coming up. Which seems like really stupid to me, but that's kind of the plot of the whole movie. It seems like they could just do the drug deal at Wild Bill's slot machine house, right?
No, dude, you can't do that. That would make too much sense.
Okay. Anyway, it's kind of the whole.
That would make way too much sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it anywhere. Why don't you just do it like outside, or in the forest or in the swamp, or on a
in the swamp on those fan boats.
On a fan boat.
Go
yeah.
Do it in the swamp. I don't know, man. But they need to do it at the Pelican. They come back to this over and over again. They've got to buy the Pelican so they can do their drug deals there.
Yeah, he says get the lawyers together and make this and go get that bar. Just like get a lawyer and go get this bar legally. So
just lawyer it.
The cronies and a lawyer show up and offer $400,000 to Jane to buy the bar, and he's like, that's way more than it's worth, but he doesn't take it. He turns it down. It's not for sale. Also,
it doesn't seem like it's his bar to sell. His uncle is not dead.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not how they treat it in the movie. He says, no, I will not sell you this bar.
So yeah, they beat the shit out of this guy and tried to kill the guy that they wanted to legally buy the bar from. Mm-hmm. Like, they never attempted to just offer him money, did they?
No.
Instead, they just tried to kill him. And then they offer money to his nephew. It makes no sense. It's like all this stuff just, when I watch it, it just passes by, and then when I think about it.
Yeah, for half a second, it kind of falls apart. Tanner, one of the bartenders drops this nugget on the lawyer. Know why they call me the robot?
Because I'm automatic and kicking your butt.
Heck yeah, dude.
That's the
just great writing.
Oh, I think he says this twice in the movie, or they reference it again like it was some standout line.
Oh, it's so sweet. You got to come back to it, Got to lick that popsicle twice.
Automatic and kicking your ass.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So then we get Jake Busey talking to the lawyer again, and he's in a hot tub with some hot chicks just grinding on his thigh.
Mm-hmm. They are grinding on his thigh. Yeah, it's like not.
Yes, you know what I mean, like to
where
the side.
You want the grinding to be. Yes.
And just like some of the laziest kisses, like it just seemed like nobody wanted to be having this sexy moment in this movie. It's just like the girls.
We got to film this scene, guys.
It's the
last one, and then we can wrap.
Give me my $500. I want to go home. Yeah. So, anything of note happened with that scene?
It kind of shows us that the lawyer is like real. He's not like a real lawyer. He's like a henchman lawyer. And then I think it was also a chance to show some TNA. It also shows Marcus Reynolds there working for him. But yeah, not a lot else in that scene.
I saw the actor for Marcus Reynolds as a stuntman. And then I also saw, the more I looked at, a lot of these actors are just like stunt people. Like the main girl is a stunt woman as well. She does stunts in John Wick 4.
That's funny to me because she doesn't have that many stunts in this movie, does she?
I mean, she's fighting just as much as the other guy in this movie. Seems like she's because it's like revealed that she has a military background. At one point, I mean, it's not like there's a whole lot of stunts at all in this movie, but she's definitely like in fights and like shooting guns and stuff.
Okay, totally fair.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
speaking of that character,
yes.
I think the next scene I've got is she takes a fan boat to see Tanner at his uncle's house. Are you in the same spot?
Yeah, this scene again is so bad.
Uh-huh. Tell us why, Tanner.
Well, she just shows up at his house. She knows where he is or where he's staying or who he is. Yeah, they don't have any interaction to know anything about each other. Really. But somehow she knows where he lives and where he's going to be, and she shows up. And he's in the shower, and she knocks, and he thinks somebody's like coming to kill her. So this whole scene is like, it's like a cat and mouse style scene or something where he's like walking around slowly with a gun and
also glistening.
Yeah, glistening, ripped. This is the closest to Swayze he is in this movie.
Correct.
I think it's the only time he's got his shirt off. But yeah, it's like he thinks somebody's there to kill him or something. So she's just like wandering around the house and ends up wandering into the house. Like,
yes.
She's just like, it was unlocked. But the dumb thing, like, she just is outside and she finds a phone outside, like a house phone.
Oh, house phone, yeah, a cordless house phone.
A landline outside on the porch. For some reason, it was out there, and calls her own cell phone, and he answers that, and then, which I didn't realize was her cell phone when I saw it until you said that a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then they have this conversation while he's like hunting around the house thinking somebody's there to like kill him or something. Anyway, it's just really poorly done and totally unnecessary.
It is both of those things. It's just
and then
dumb. Yeah.
She walks into the house and he kind of like scares her, and then she kicks him in the balls. And that's how it all culminates in a yeah, anyway.
I have nothing to add. That was a great synopsis of that very stupid scene from this movie.
Yeah.
From there, they take this hot action to a coffee shop, and they're there at the diner. A little girl runs up to the woman. We find out she's a teacher, and he reveals that he's DEA, and so she kind of spills the beans that there's a bunch of drug running going on here. And there's also this weird little subplot, like when he left New York City, he basically told his boss to fuck off. I'm going to go do this. I'm going rogue. But he needs to bag like like a big drug bust. And so like, this is like working out perfectly. I don't know.
He can take care of his family business and get some work done.
Right. And do his DEA job remotely from the Louisiana Bayou. Yeah, anyway.
You find out her name is Bo as well.
Yes.
Beau. According to this, I thought it was like BO, like Bo Derek or something, but no.
Yeah. And then we get a scene. I hadn't really put this together, but to get from his house to the coffee shop, it then shows them coming back from the coffee shop on a fan boat, which is hilarious to me. That's just, they treat this place like it's like Venice, where you have to take a boat to the different places, but here it's fan boats, and I just thought that was a really funny little touch. So
everything's on the bayou.
The coffee. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
everything's right on the bayou or in the swamp. Like everything's right off the swamp. You can just take the fan boat anywhere, Chris.
Yeah, you just take the swamp down to exit 40 swamp, and then you swamp off the swamp, and that's where the coffee.
Take a left after the tree, the fallen tree.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So they come back and the house is totally trashed. Like it looks like there's picture frames out on the dock that were inside the house before they went on the state. So why they were gone, their entire house got thrown. I know. Why did that get thrown all the way outside like that? But it just looks like somebody threw chairs around and like they just went and broke everything.
Yes.
It happens again at the bar later where they just break everything, and that's an intimidating moment, I guess. I don't know.
I was intimidated. I was quaking in my boots.
What happens next, Chris? I think we get a drug.
I think we get a phone call here between Wild Bill and Tanner, or Shane Tanner, and he agrees to sell. You can tell it's kind of like fake, but he's like, playing it up for Wild Bill. He basically says, like, I'll take your offer. Let's meet up at the bar and we'll hash out the details. Again, the bar does not belong to him, and it's strange to me that anyone believes that he has this authority. But that's what happens. So they decide they're going to meet up at the Black Pelican. So Wild Bill shows up with his crew, and they go into the kitchen and kick out all the kitchen employees because that's where they're going to do the drug deal at the Black Pelican.
Again, you can't just do it in a car or something. Like, they have to be inside of the Black Pelican.
And making it so obvious. They kick the entire kitchen staff out of the kitchen so that they could do the drug deal back there.
Well, they knew if they did it in the bar, Shane would see them, so they go into the kitchen.
Clever.
But they should have gone into the bathroom. That's where they should have gone.
Yeah, or the fan boat.
Or the fan boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the classic, like, the two briefcase things where they each... There's like a briefcase full of money and a briefcase full of drugs. They open it up and just show it. It's confirmed. It's real money. But
ooh, hot dang.
And then Busey gets a call, and then he immediately is just like, set up. So somebody called him.
Because and then they have badges like under their shirts that they take out. Undercover operations.
We get our second bikini-clad DEA agent in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we sure do.
A lot of hot DEA agents out there.
Yeah, should we have gone into the DEA just for the hotties?
Seems like it.
Yeah, kind of seems like it. But yeah, there's a chase scene that goes through the kitchen, and I thought this scene was hilarious because...
Wait, Chris.
Go.
At FBI, they have those shirts that say female body inspector. What would DEA stand for in this movie?
Oh, man.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure that. We'll work on that. That'll be part of the survey, maybe. Does that shirt already exist? I feel like there might already be like a
spin on the FBI one.
Yeah.
DEA, probably.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we're in the kitchen, and the DEA is there to bust Wild Bill and his drug deal. And this scene really made me laugh because there were so many bullets just hitting like glass jars of cherries. Yes. And
I wrote that too. The kitchen things are just exploding.
Just like
mustard and mayo, or mustard and ketchup jars exploding.
Oh, so good. And it's like fully zoomed in, so you're not seeing the other characters. It was just like somebody who was responsible for this was like, oh, let's get a close-up of that bottle of ketchup getting shot with a bullet. And they did that 40 times in a row.
Remember, we're in a kitchen.
Yes.
They just wanted us to remember.
Which kind of made me wonder if they decided to do the drug deal in the kitchen just so they could use that footage of bullets hitting jars.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know
which came first. That
the chicken or the bullet hitting the chicken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a massive shootout in the bar, and the bar gets like wrecked, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, this movie is all shootouts, whereas the other one was all like fist fights. But they do explain that away in the next scene, where he says, or somebody says, you can't settle things with fists and sweat anymore. I think that's his uncle that says that.
Okay.
You can't settle things with fists and sweat. Anyway.
There was also another little funny moment in here. They before we leave this scene behind, but Bill escapes on his fan boat, like back into the bayou, and we find out that the DEA has no jurisdiction here. It's under the sheriff's jurisdiction. But in my brain, the DEA would be over the sheriff. I guess I just don't understand jurisdiction and how that works.
Yeah.
Wouldn't DEA be over sheriff? Or sheriff over DEA?
I think I don't know. I think it depends on the nature of the crime, I guess. I don't really know.
Well, okay. Maybe you're right. Maybe they didn't see nothing their way out of part of it. Yeah. Anyway, but that's a problem for Shane Tanner because the sheriff's office is clearly corrupted at this point, and everyone kind of works for Wild Bill and his drug runners.
Do we meet
Where
the
do we go?
British guy after this? I just
Who's the
wrote British rich guy. The rich guy.
Oh, Victor. Yes.
Yeah, he sounded British, right? He had. Well, I did write British question mark because his accent was like just strange.
Great. He's British now.
Well, do you know what it actually was?
It's either British or just not very good as an actor.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't have any info on him really.
Yeah, neither do I really. I mean, his big scene hasn't happened yet. That kind of comes in the
gotcha.
The climax of this movie. But at this point, he's pretty unhappy with Bill because this was supposed to be a drug deal at the Pelican, and Bill still hasn't purchased the Pelican, and the DEA is now sniffing around, and so he's pretty pissed off that Bill is screwing this up. Tanner decides, Shane Tanner decides to close the Pelican. And this is where Otto gets his one moment of glory where he gets to come up to talk to Tanner. They're trying to, recapture that magic between Jeff Healey and Swayze from the first movie.
Yeah, he doesn't. What does he even say? Just
I didn't even write it down. It was so forgettable. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get back at the hospital. I'd mentioned that his uncle is like awake now, and they're talking. This is where he says you can't settle things with fist and sweat. And he references the first movie again, and he's like, "Your dad was wrong. Pain does hurt."
What?
Right?
I wrote that down too. What? Did he say that in the first movie? We watched it last week. I feel like I should remember that.
Yeah, he says something about pain doesn't hurt or something like that, right?
Maybe. I don't remember it well enough for it to be like a line your dad said. Like something that happened so many times that you could call back to it.
Yeah, he says to the girl in the hospital, he says, "Pain don't hurt."
That scene. Okay.
Yeah. When he's getting stitched up.
Thank you for that. That actually helps me a lot. Okay, thank you.
Pain don't hurt. Is that supposed to be like an emotional pain?
To anything. I didn't think it was a callback to anything, and I was so confused. But that does help. Thank you.
Yeah, and then I think he says this line. I have this line next, and he says, I think he's talking about the girl that he's about to go on a date on, or that he's met in town. And then he says, his uncle says, "I hope she has a nice ass." I hope she has a nice ass. I was like, yeah, me too. They're great.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
What a thing to say.
Yeah.
And then, so this girl, they go out on a date next, or she gets like a phone call from Jake Busey.
No. Better than that.
Okay.
They all show up on a fan boat to like intimidate her. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe it would probably be very intimidating if it happened, but the way it happens is he comes up and is like, "You better stay away from that pretty boy tonight. We're gonna, stay away from the Black Pelican." And then but it's him and his whole crew on this fan boat, and then them driving away while trying to be intimidating in broad daylight in a fan boat. It's so funny. It's such a funny visual.
Yeah. So. I wasn't sure if at this point if she was like working with them secretly, or because that would have been maybe a decent twist.
Sure.
Or if they were just threatening her in their own way as well. But yeah, they tell her to stay away from him. And like she's like, okay, they're gonna try to kill him tonight at the bar, so she's gonna get Tanner to go out on a date with her instead.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of distracts them. They have a date at under like this bridge. That was kind of a cool scenic shot of them with that giant bridge behind them.
I agree.
I don't know why, like that restaurant is in a cool location. But
location, Tanner. Like they say in this movie.
Is this where is he talking to her when he says, So apparently, like his dad Dalton was murdered. I don't know if we've said that yet, but his dad, Patrick Swayze's character, had been murdered.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that a little bit,
Well,
but
but we get a little more detail on it here on
yeah.
this date.
And he says that he left his dad his car that night, and they were living together, and he went out on the beat as like a cop, which he's still living with his dad, but he has like a cop job. But he's like, I left him my car, and they must have thought it was me, and that's why he got murdered, which is just a really dumb way to kill off the character, right? Like it was all about this guy the whole time, even though Dalton had tons of people trying to kill him anyway. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it turns out that Dalton's death, had nothing to do with any of the stuff. It was just an accident. They thought it was him, I guess.
They thought it was his son. Yeah, they thought it was this guy. Yeah.
So it's so dumb.
Pretty ridiculous. And the fact that he reached that conclusion on his own, also pretty ridiculous. It's revealed later that this is actually correct, and they did think it was him. But kind of an insane little thing. And then the other problem I had with this scene. Do you have anything else on that, Tanner? I don't want to cut you off here.
No, just with him and her. Yeah. What else happens?
It's with him and her. Yeah. He asks her why she doesn't have a boyfriend, and she talks about how she's never found anybody strong enough or safe enough or whatever. And he's like, well, that rules me out because I'm not safe enough. And it's like, dude, you're like a professional law officer who lives in a big city. Like, this girl drives a fan boat. You don't think you're safe enough for her? Like, what stupid dialogue?
Well, I mean, people are out to kill him, so that's not a very safe environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. He's a city boy. Like, it does not seem like a safety issue to me, but I guess there are gunmen after him.
It's nobody thought twice about any of these lines for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My thing was she then like, okay, so he's like, I got to go to the bar and help clean up. Like, I've been trying to get to this bar all night, and you're distracting me with dates and kisses and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, don't come back to my house and fuck me instead. So he does that. But I think it's funny that she like isn't telling him that she knows that they're gonna kill him this entire time. She just keeps like distracting him or like saying, no, come with me instead. Instead of just telling him like, hey, somebody's gonna kill you if you go to that bar. Why didn't she just do that?
I don't know. Like, maybe get your dudes out of that bar so they don't get shot at. Yeah.
Yeah, and she just doesn't bother to tell him any of this information.
Correct.
So they have sex, and then he's immediately like, all right, I gotta go. And he gets up and leaves. And she says, I'm going with you. But does she go with him? Because then she was back at her house.
Because they go from there, they go straight to the bar. They go straight to the Black Pelican.
And they find some dead people there, right?
Yep, there's a dead guy, and then one of the bouncers, the guy who is so automatic at kicking your ass that he gets called a robot. He took a bullet, so he's on the ground and injured. And he basically says that Luther let him in. And Luther is the bouncer that we met before, who was acting super suspicious. He was the one who's clearly the bad guy. So it's time to go get Luther.
And then they kept emphasizing there's like this pelican statue, like a giant pelican statue in there. And it was reminding me of Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves a little bit. I was like, this kind of reminds me of
Tiki Man.
The Tiki Man. It's like, is this going to be a pivotal plot point in this statue? Because they keep showing it.
There was a scene where does it? You're going to have to explain to me what it did then, because I missed the payoff.
I'll tell you when it comes up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you find out as well. Some of this order it's all happening fast, but she gets another warning from Jake Busey, and you find out that that's her cousin. So they're cousins, and so he's like actually warning her because he doesn't want her to get hurt. She's not working with them, and in fact, very quickly turns on him completely and like is like shooting and trying to kill him at one point. I don't know. Then they go to the hospital and they want to finish the job and kill Nate Tanner, right?
Yes.
Which they failed at before. And how does he get out of that situation?
Great question.
He's pretending to be a janitor. So somehow he knows.
Right. Yes.
he knows. He's like, he's really beat up. He's like limping and like he's still really fucked up. Should be in bed. And he is pretending to be a janitor, and they kind of like walk right past him. But then he attacks all of them right there and beats the shit out of them.
Yes. Destroys them.
And then he goes into some other guy's room who's like on a ventilator, and he's like, you know, trying to hide from them. Jake Busey's on the way. And this guy ends up coming back into the movie later, just for no reason.
They hire him at the bar. He becomes one of the bouncers.
At the end of the movie, this old man on a ventilator, he's like, yeah, I like it here. That's how the movie ends, with that guy, basically.
Yeah, and as a bouncer, like a job that requires like incredible physical like what?
Are you sure he wasn't like a bartender or something?
Yeah.
I think he was just like working there. I don't know if he was necessarily a bouncer, but I could be wrong. But then Nate Tanner gets stabbed by Jake Busey in the back. He got backstabbed. Again, an unsuccessful attempt to kill this man, as we'll find out later. He doesn't die. He gets like fucked up in this movie, though.
Might be because he's the best actor in this movie, and you know, they just know they can't. This won't fly without him. You know,
this one, if they want any chance of a sequel, they got to keep him alive.
Yes. I also thought a funny part of this plan, because they send Wild Bill and his whole crew, Knife Chick included, to the hospital, and they are going to go, I don't know, do something else. But then their whole plan is to come back to the Black Pelican to do their drug deal with DeMarco, and it's just like, just do it somewhere else. Like, you guys are.
You're obsessed with this bar.
You are the worst bad guys. Like, you're just.
You don't need to be inside a bar to do a drug deal. You can do it outside the bar. You can do it anywhere.
Your behavior is so suspicious. I don't understand why they need to do all this, but. I
mean, I get wanting to own the bar as like an extra like kind of safe house place for them to do these illegal things.
Yeah.
But like, you don't need to do the transaction in the bar for any reason.
Right. And they don't own the bar. So like, they're trespassing and like doing felonies like in another person's property. You know, it's like, it's just so dumb.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
What else? I think we get the showdown with the British guy, right?
Victor? Yes. And what is his big reveal here, Tanner? I can run it through it a little bit. So Tanner gets Shane Tanner.
Oh.
Shane Tanner, excuse me, and Bo get captured at his house by Victor and his goons, and Victor reveals that this is personal. You don't recognize me. And it turns out that Shane Tanner, in his early days, before he was DEA, he was Louisiana State Patrol. And one night he arrested a man and brought him to jail with drugs in the car. And he got this man's Ferrari and his boat taken away. And this man grew up to be,
this man,
whatever his name is. It's this guy.
That man turned into this man.
That man turned into this man. And
yeah. So this is the connection. Yeah, he killed his father because
this nameless idiot was the one who murdered Dalton, the most kick-ass kicker of ass that we've ever met before.
I know.
This guy did it. Yeah.
It's so dumb how they killed it. Yeah. They just killed him off in some unrelated way to like him being a badass or something like that. It was a mistake that he killed Dalton instead of his son with a different last name.
Yes.
Yeah, really stupid.
But it kind of does go along with how in these movies, every character is connected in every possible way. You know, the girl has to be a cousin with the bad guy. The girl has to be the love interest of the bad guy and the niece of the guy who owns the hardware store. And like every piece has to be connected 6 ways. So in that way, this lines up. But in every other way, it's really stupid.
And like everything is reachable by house or a fan boat. Yeah. Yeah, they got that part right as far as like from the first movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you find out some info here. And then I think it's how do they get out of that situation? Do they just like kick his ass? Do they arrest him here?
I
Because
don't
I feel
really
like at
remember.
this point I was like, what happened to the British guy? And then at the very end of the movie, he's just arrested in a cop car. But they never show him again. I don't think. Am I right?
I think you're right.
I don't know
Yeah,
how that scene ends
they
though.
send he sends Vincent Cross or Victor Cross sends the two goons that he's got there out to the backyard with the girl, and the implication being that they're gonna like rape her. It's
Yeah.
like not a great scene. And then I think it's just him left inside so they can fight.
Yeah. And
And
then
that's I guess it.
she gets away.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
she
don't know. The
kicks
next
their
thing I
asses.
have is the car driving into the other cars. So I assume it's at a different location, but it's at the
Yeah,
Black
because
Pelican, maybe.
it's back at the Black Pelican. There's a sign that says, yeah. So let's get to that scene because I think that's kind of how this thing wraps up. Um, at this point, Shane Tanner has defeated Victor Cross, but Victor Cross reveals that's what it is. He beats him up against the wall, and Victor Cross reveals that he wasn't the one that pulled the trigger to kill Dalton. It was actually Wild Bill because Wild Bill was working for me. And so
Yeah.
then,
So he hired Wild Bill to kill him, but instead
yeah,
killed his father on accident. Because and that explains, I guess, why they didn't recognize, like Jake Busey's character would have no idea what this guy even looked like.
yeah.
Pretty lazy all around.
But honestly, kind of on character for Jake Busey's character that he's just really bad at being a bad guy. Like he would have. That's the guy that would have killed the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that scene starts with a callback to the first movie as well, with an unmanned car driving into the scenario to start this final showdown, and it just runs into two parked cars and they all explode,
all explode,
going
the
like 30 miles an hour.
Yeah,
it makes no sense. Huge, yeah. And at this point, I was like, why is this girl fighting here? Like, she is involved. She's shooting people. She's like, why? How did she get wrapped up in all this? Why is she like? She should stay out of this.
Yes, 100%.
Keep herself safe.
Yeah, and the other person who's helping them fight is the crooked cop that we met at the beginning, and they convinced him to flip just by saying like, "What's it going to take? What are you going to do? When are you going to do the right thing?" That's all it took, and then he completely flipped from being a dirty cop to shooting at the bad guys. Like,
yep. And then at the
what?
end, he kind of gives him the nod, like "we did it," kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that too. I was like, "Oh, that guy wasn't dirty after all." I thought he was. He was the one in the hospital that's like, didn't see nothing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrong place,
so maybe
wrong
he
time.
wasn't all the way crooked, and it was the rest of the sheriff's department.
I have no idea.
But
It's poorly conveyed. Yeah. Again, like there's only, I guess there's a few fight scenes coming up here, but it's mostly shootouts in this movie. And so yeah, we get the final showdown between Busey and Tanner. Busey's the real person's name. What's his name? Oh, Wild Bill. And he's got a chain. So the big feature of this fight is he's got like a chain whip situation. That's his weapon of choice.
Oh yeah.
And there's some more
what's wilder than a chain whip, Tanner?
That's pretty wild. That's a good
pretty
point.
wild. Yeah.
More like products of the time and era with like these fight scenes where there's like a lot of these like wire spinning kind of like things where he like his whole body like spins in circles when he like gets knocked to the ground.
Yeah.
And like he'll do the thing where he runs and he jumps on a wall to like and then turns around to like punch somebody. Like totally unnecessary moment, but that
gives you more punch on your punch.
I want to go through, it made me think about like I want to go through the eras of like fight scenes in movies, and I know we talked about it when we watched Charlie's Angels, how there's a lot of like wire acts and things like this where they jump on a wall and get leverage and turn around and fight something. They're always jumping off of a wall as like a ricochet. But I'd like to go through like the different eras of fight scenes and what was big and popular. Because right now everything's like a John Wick style thing,
Yes.
And that's like every action scene, or it's like a Marvel just massive, confusing CGI effect laden.
And just
scene.
punches. Yeah, that's all Marvel's doing. Yeah.
But the 80s were like a lot of like real fighting almost. It looked like
Yeah,
it.
seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. So they have a little fight here, and it cuts back and forth between the girls having a showdown with the knife girl, right?
Oh yeah. There's a little cat fight action going on in the kitchen.
Meow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so how do these scenes kind of culminate? Anything you want to talk about here before?
Oh, I mean, I don't know that I have a ton here. The ending, the culmination to Shane and Bill's fight is kind of good. Do you have anything on the cat fight? The knife girl
Well,
just gets out knifed.
her only line in the movie, I think, she might say something earlier, but she's like about to stab the main girl, Bo, and says, "Let's see what your insides look like." It's like all of a sudden brutal. There hasn't been anything like that in this movie.
Correct.
Oh, there was something I rewound like 3 times. I rewound it. Where he's got Tanner in a chokehold. Jake Busey does, and he says, "Never did I think I'd get to kill father, son, and the whole Nate or something." And what? Do you know what he says here?
I didn't. That line just cruised past me. I did not notice that. No.
I still don't know what he says exactly, but he says, never did I think I'd get to kill father, son, and the whole Nate. I think. Because it sounds like he's trying to say Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost in the way he says it. But then he says the whole Nate, or something. And Nate's the name of his uncle. And I don't know if that was supposed to be... I really wanted to get to the bottom of that line. Anyway. So, yeah. The fight scene culminates with him. This is where the statue comes back. He gets kicked out of a window and impaled on the pelican.
Thank you. Okay. Yes.
They didn't really emphasize it as much as they should have, considering they kept showing the statue and they could have had a big moment.
There's a scene earlier where Wild Bill picks it up because it had been knocked over, and it shows it really it's very clearly you're supposed to notice it. And I thought that maybe there was a wire in it or there was a recording device because I didn't notice what he had gotten impaled on.
Yeah.
At the end of that, but it was this giant black pelican statue. Thank you so much.
There's also there's the flashback again, the same flashback that we keep getting of him as a kid, right when he's in the chokehold, and it's his moment to remember his dad and turn around and get out of the situation and kill the guy. But at this moment, I still was holding out hope for a throat rip because he's in the chokehold, just like in the first movie, right before the big throat rip moment, and he remembers his dad. I'm like,
throat rip. This is the one.
This is the one.
Yeah,
and it seems Bill. They could have shown I thought for sure this flashback was going to be his dad showing him how to do the claws to do a throat rip or something, and he remembers it and rips the guy's throat out, and that would have been the end. Instead, they went this route of getting impaled on this statue they showed a few times. But it would have been, how much better would that have been if he had recalled his throat ripping training in that moment?
So much better.
That would have been so good. Yeah. Anyway, I was holding out hope until that moment.
We need the Tanner cut of this movie. I think it would be a lot more. The callbacks would be more noticeable at the very least. Yeah.
Chris, and then so everyone's dead. The movie's basically over. We get some catch up stuff at the end. What happens?
Yeah, the happy couple share a little moment. The security guard gets a little, or the cop that turned good gets a little moment of a thumbs up as he's in the back of an ambulance. And that buddy from the hospital who was on a ventilator is now working as a bouncer. And we get a shot of the Rockin' Club with our boy James Otto playing some rockin' tunes. And that's about it. Did you get anything else from those last couple scenes?
Oh, no, not really. Oh, well, the old man working at the bar, did you say that?
Yeah, I mentioned
the hospital. Yeah. That's about it. Everything's wrapped up. Yeah. That's Roadhouse 2, Last Call.
Last
Chris?
call on any thoughts from this movie, Tanner. Last call. Yeah, dude. What'd you
You
think?
don't have to go home, but you can't watch Roadhouse 2 here.
Closing.
Oh, they should have played Closing Time.
Yes.
That would have cost more to get the rights to Closing Time than this entire movie would have probably cost. You know what I mean?
Without a doubt.
What did I think of this movie? It sucks. I mean, it's generic, straight to video trash. I mean, it's just like, hey, remember this from this movie? We're literally just taking the name and hoping to cash in on its like resurgence that it had at the time, like on TV, on cable and stuff. Because yeah, that's all it is. It's just a cash grab completely.
Yeah.
I wish I could find like the DVD rental numbers because I couldn't. I don't know where to find that necessarily. It wasn't on Wikipedia or anything. So, but yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, for a straight to DVD movie, it could have been a lot worse. We talked about Highlander: The Source, which was the fifth Highlander movie. Just like so painful, so bad.
Yes.
It's not like that level of bad. There's some competency and
It's not incoherent. It's like you can follow the story pretty easily, and it does touch on some of the things that were fun in the first movie. But we talked a lot about how last week, like, they made insane choices. They called people peckerhead and chicken dick. There were throat rips. There was like a monster truck, but somehow it all ties together into this really fun, exciting movie. And this movie has none of that magic. There's just like none of it there. And maybe it's not fair to hold a direct-to-DVD sequel to the same standard as a Patrick Swayze movie, but like this movie just doesn't have the magic, and it's just I mean it's an episode of Walker Texas Ranger. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a TV show episode that's a full movie length.
Yeah.
It's
there's nothing, like you said, nothing exciting that happens at all. Like nothing original or fun, really. There's not even like we said, there's not even
fan boats.
It's not even a Roadhouse. I mean, the fan boats are pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a couple of decently filmed little fight scenes, I guess, but again, like any chance they had to like do something like crazy or exciting, they just didn't do. Even like the impaled thing is like, I feel like that happens so much where somebody gets kicked out a window and impaled in movies.
I feel like I've seen that exact shot. I made a note of it because it's like as he's impaled, it shows him from below, so you can see the guy that threw him out the window, the Shane Tanner character, like up above in the same shot. Like I've seen that shot in a movie like 20 times.
Yeah. It's very generic and derivative, and just like. I mean, they tried to. It's not just connected to name because I did try to connect it to the actual characters, but it's very loose and poorly done. I will not be watching again. Chris, any other tidbits on that? Like what you thought about it? I'm getting some feedback as well from you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that a little bit better?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll find out. Yeah.
No, I don't know that I have too much else to add. It's just it's a cash grab. It's what we I don't know, but it's kind of like what we do this show for. It's kind of fun to see what they do. But there's a reason this thing isn't available on Amazon. There's a reason that they're trying to kind of ignore it. It doesn't really add much to the Roadhouse legacy.
It's completely irrelevant. This is like the milk. I think we mentioned that before. Like this movie is like the milking of the franchise itself. You know what I mean? And then the remake again. So, not a ton of like swag or video games or spin-off TV shows or anything like that, but you do get generic sequels and rehashes. Just trying to catch lightning in a bottle again, I guess. So
I think we're in agreement here. If you're listening, probably don't watch this one. Maybe just go watch the 1989 one again, because that movie rips throats, and this one does not.
It definitely rips throats.
Yeah.
Chris, do you want a sequel to this movie?
Oh, no, thank you.
But that guy survived at the end, so we got a good trio of characters here.
Yeah,
And
but
then the old man at the bar would be in the next one.
yes, he would. I hope he has a main. Let's follow him. I want him to be the main character in the next one.
Yeah, pretty good. All these other questions we ask or go over at the end of the movie are kind of just irrelevant. It's just literally taking the name and trying to get some DVD rentals out of it.
Yep.
And they didn't do anything. There was no bar fights. They didn't cash in on what was like super popular about the movie. They missed the mark even with that. I mean, you add some more bar fights and some like maybe crazy moments and a throat rip or two, and you got a much closer movie or a much better movie.
I also think the last movie really benefited by leaning so much into Jeff Healey and his music, and they didn't even give that James Otto guy a chance to really do that because he isn't really on screen except for over the credits, and that one weird scene where he gets to go say his line.
They show him playing music a couple times, but
I just it didn't. I don't know. It didn't hit the vibes.
He looked like Jesse Plemons with like long, sexy hair. That's what he reminded me of.
Well, that's what I'm going to dream about tonight.
Jesse Plemons in a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. What else can we talk about? Any milk at all? Anything else? I feel like there's nothing else to say about a movie like this.
Yeah, I think we've given this thing its eulogy. Should we turn our attention forward to next week, Tanner? What are we watching next week?
Next week we're watching Roadhouse, the new reboot or remake. I'm not sure which. It has some like legal troubles involving the writer and the new movie. The writer is original. So we'll get into that next week. But yeah, if you like the show and you like following along with us, please take the survey for Roadhouse 2 Last Call. Again, do not feel like you need to watch this movie. You can take the survey. A lot of times we just joke about things during this episode. So if you listened, you'll know what we're talking about and can take the survey anyways. If you want to watch the movie, sure, go for it.
Yeah. Power to you.
Sorry for your 80 minutes that you've lost in your life, but that is one thing. I was going to say MVPs real quick. The runtime again, running time gets a lot of shout out on this episode or on this show.
Mm-hmm.
But also the Will Patton. I'm going to shout out Will Patton, the uncle. I thought he was pretty good.
Great.
MVP of the movie. Yeah.
MVP for me is the fan boats. It made me chuckle every time they used them to get from scene to scene, or they tried to intimidate someone while on a fan boat. It just fan boats for sure.
Oh, also MVP is the use of the name Tanner.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Whenever we get a main character, Chris, I can't wait.
There's one day there'll be a movie with Chris, with a Chris in there. We haven't had it yet. But
it just hasn't happened yet.
I'm probably so wrong about that. For some reason, it seemed like I feel like there is no Chris's. I don't, Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I'll do some research.
Well, Tanner, maybe we should let you go do that research. Like Tanner said, like and share, take our survey, check the show notes for that survey. We'll read your answers on the air next week. Any other last thoughts, or should we log off here?
I think we can log off. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye.